Good day, senior high icons. Welcome to ICI AP My E-Class. I'm Mr. Aldrin G. Sikitin, a faculty of Immaculate Conception Polytechnic Senior High School under the General Academic Strand. This semester, I will be handling English 400 or 21st century literature from the Philippines and the world.
Today we're going to talk about the foundations of literature, and these are the genres and elements. So first, let us define the word literature. So it is a term used to describe written and sometimes spoken material. The word literature is derived from the Latin word literatura, which means writing formed with letters. It is a composition that tells a story, dramatizes a situation, expresses emotions, analyzes and advocates idea. Sometimes it is said that literature makes us human. It makes us human because we sometimes experience, see, or encounter things and situations which are new to us. Okay, so literature is divided into four major or broad genres, and these are prose fiction, non-fiction prose, poetry, and drama. So let us start to somehow characterize these four genres and give examples or subgenres of these broad genres or wide genres. Okay, so first let us talk about prose fiction. Prose fiction is based on the writer's imagination, and it uses imaginary characters, places, or events. It uses sentences and paragraphs to tell the story of the character. Prose fiction is divided into four subtypes or subcategories, and these are the novel, which is the longest type of prose fiction. It also gives the writer plenty of time to develop the plot and the characters, and there is no exact word count, and the number of words is up to the description of the author. Next one is novella or novelette. It is quite shorter than a novel and is usually consist of more than 30 pages. Just like the novel, it also has a room for plot and character development, but not that long. The third one is short story. It has a limited time for the character development and is usually consists of 3 to 25 pages. And the last one is the flash fiction, basically the shortest among the types of prose fiction. It is consists of more than 1,000 but less than 10,000 words. Okay, so those are the subcategories of prose fiction. So again, when we speak of prose fiction, it is based on the imagination of the writer or the author. The next genre of literature is the non-fiction prose. This is based on facts and evidences and often uses real-life situations. It also uses sentences and paragraphs in presenting the story. So again, this is divided into subcategories, and these are the following. The first one is personal narrative. Personal narrative tells true stories about events in a person's life and is written by the person himself. It is also known as autobiography. And then the second one is biographical narrative. narratives. So these are accounts of a person's life written by someone else, or also known as biography. The third one is diary and or journal entry. It is a highly personal and private record of experiences, thoughts, and feelings of the writer. So basically, a day-to-day record of someone's life. And then the last one is blog or blogs. So these are online journals showcasing the thoughts or feelings of a certain person towards something. May it be a place or food or a thing. So the writer will write his thoughts or perceptions of that thing through a blog. Okay? The next or the third genre of literature is poetry. So it is a form of literature usually written in verses or lines that make up stanzas which are designed to be recited or read aloud. It uses imagery, figurative language or languages, sound devices, melody, and rhythm. So, the perception of poetry is based on the reader. So, it is prone to different kinds of perception or understanding. So, just like the first two genres of literature, poetry is divided into several subtypes or categories. So, the first one is lyric poem or lyric poem. Lyric poems are highly musical verses that express the observations and feelings of a single person. So, it's like a song which contains ideas or concepts based on how a people see things or the world. Next is narrative poems or narrative poems. So these are poems that tell a story. So the only difference of narrative poems to a prose fiction or non-fiction prose is that it is written into lines or verses and stanzas. Unlike prose fiction and non-fiction prose, these two are written in sentences and paragraphs. Okay, so but it somehow these genres and subcategory have the same concept of telling a story. And then the third subcategory of poetry is dramatic poem. Dramatic poem is a verse or verses which are written to be spoken, usually by a character invented by the author himself. And then next we have epics. So epics are long narrative poems that celebrate the adventure and achievements of a heroic figure. The fifth one, we have ballads. So it's like ballads are poems under lyric poem. So ballads are song-like poems that tell a story, often dealing with adventure and romance. So the difference of epic and ballad, somehow in epic, our persona has a heroic figure or is a heroic figure. He or she somehow has or have somehow power or strength which are not normal to humans. And then on ballads, the persona is just a normal person or a normal people. So those are their differences. In epic, you have a heroic figure or somehow an extraordinary persona, while while on ballads, you have a normal person or normal people. And then next we have sonnets. Sonnets are poems with 14 lines. So that is the special characteristic of a sonnet. It contains 14 lines. Okay, and then next we have haiku, a special type of poem from Japan which consists of 17 syllables or 3 lines with 17 syllables in total. And then lastly, we have the free verse or free verses poem. Free verse poems. Okay, so these are poems that do not follow any rhythmical patterns. So in short, free verse is the black sheep of the family. So it doesn't follow a rhyme scheme or a meter. So the composition of the poem is basically based on the writer's mood or the writer's wants. Yeah. So those are the subcategories of poetry. And lastly, or the last genre of literature is drama. So drama is designed to be performed and made up of dialogue and set directions. So the story is presented by the actors and actresses on a stage. So that is the difference of drama among the genres of literature. So drama is divided into 4 subcategories, and these are the following. First, we have comedy. So comedy is a humorous and has a happy ending. Its tone is light and is intended to make the audience laugh. So that is the characteristic of a comedy. And then the second one is tragedy. It is a drama or form of a drama in which the main character suffers a downfall. May it be murder, death, insanity, pain. So these are among the most common ideas in tragedies. So somehow the other side of comedy. So if comedy contains a light and somehow happy emotion or mood, drama contains heavy emotions, somehow sad. It involves dying, sickness, and the likes. Okay, the third one is tragic comedy. So it is special kind of drama that combines the features of tragedy and comedy. It means that such play may be sad but will have a happy ending, or it may be serious with some elements of humor emerging throughout the whole play. So basically the combination of the first 2 subcategories. And then last we have the melodrama. So it is a kind of drama in which everything is hyperbolized. Themes depicted are simple and without any unpredictable plot twists. So there are quite a lot of stereotypes in such drama. So basically, melodrama is a hyperbolized version of a simple or a plain dramatic play. So that is the melodrama. So those are the genres and subgenres of literature. And then now we're going to move on to the elements of literature. So basically, these elements are present in prose fiction, non-fiction prose, and drama. While poetry has its own elements. So let us talk about first the element of prose prose fiction, non-fiction prose, and drama. So it is divided into 5 elements or 5 basic elements. So these are the characters, point of view, plot, setting, and themes. So we're going to talk about each element one by one. Okay, and then we're going to give some insights on those elements. So first, let us talk about the character. So character is the representation of human being in the story. Character can be presented in 2 ways. Direct, where the narrator describes the character, or indirect, where the characters are being described by others through characters' speech and reactions. So character are differentiated based on his or her role in the story. So the first types of character are the protagonist and the antagonist. Protagonist is the central character of the story, often called as the hero. While on the other hand, we have the antagonist, the villain. It is the force working against the protagonist. So basically, one good example of this is we have Cinderella, and then the protagonist is Cinderella, and then the antagonist is the stepmother. Okay? And then next type of characters, we have the static character and dynamic character. Static character remains the same throughout the story, often called as stereotypes. So they have 1 or 2 characteristics that never change and are often overemphasized. So static characters are somehow the supporting characters, or they have the supporting roles, just like the best friend of our hero or our protagonist. And then next, we have the dynamic character, or also known as developing character. This character undergoes permanent change. This character has many-sided personalities that change by the end of the story. So basically, dynamic character is based on his or her characteristic, which are changing. Okay, and then next we have the flat character. So it is one who does not undergo substantial change or growth in the course of a story, or in the course or a story. So somehow the same like the static character. And then last one, we have the round character. So round character are one who is static character is capable of change and evolution throughout the story. Somehow the same with the dynamic character. So those are the different kinds or different types of character. And then next we have the setting. It refers to the time and place when and where the story happened. Setting establishes the historical, geographical, and physical location. Also, it gives the atmosphere and serves as a symbol. Setting may be implied or implicitly stated and explicitly stated. And then next, we're going to move on with the plot. So the plot describes the structure of the story. It shows the actual arrangement of events and actions within a story. The plot draws the reader into the characters' lives and helps the reader understand the choices that the characters make. Plots can be told in chronological or the usual flow of the story. It can also be in a flashback where the story starts from the future and then go back to the past, or it can be an en media res or en medias res where the story starts in the middle of things. So those are somehow the three examples of plots. And then plot is composed of the following. So the first one, it is based on the chronological flow of the story. So the first one is the exposition or the introduction. It is the start of the story, the situation before the actions start. So that is the exposition. And then it will be followed by the rising action, wherein it contains the series of conflicts and crises in the story that led to the climax. And then again, rising action contains conflict. So conflict is the problem faced by the characters in the story. There are different types of conflicts, and these are the following. The first one is man versus himself. So basically, there is a struggle within his personality or her personality. And then next is man versus man. So two forces against each other. And then man versus society. So a specific person versus a group of people. And then man versus nature. So basically, humankind or mankind versus the forces of nature like typhoon, tornado, earthquake, flood, and the likes. And then lastly, man versus God. So God here pertains to the man-made God, or basically the most famous ones are the Greek gods and goddesses. So basically that type of God. Okay, those are the types of conflict which is under the rising action. So rising action will lead us to the climax, which is defined as the turning point or the most intense part of the story. So this is the part where the protagonist will be dealing with the antagonist, or they will be facing each other. And then it will lead us to the falling action, which consists of all the action which follows the climax. The part where the problem is starting to be resolved. Or basically this part will be the part wherein somehow things will be setting aside. Okay, so things will be starting to be resolved. Falling action is that part. Okay, and then last part will be the resolution or the denouement. This is the conclusion part, the tying together of all the threads. So basically, all the problems are solved, and then basically, if we're going to if we are reading a fairy tale, resolution or denouement is the part where the narrator will be telling the viewers or the readers, and they lived happily ever or ever after. So that is the resolution or the denouement part. And then next element is point of view. So point of view is the angle of vision, the position of the narrator in telling the story. So point of view is divided into 4 types, or basically three types, and then the third one is divided into two subtypes. So the first type is first person, where the narrator does participate in the action of the story. So basically, the narrator is part of the story. So the story is being told using first person pronoun like I. So basically, the narrator is part of the story, and that character is telling the story, or the story is being told on that point of view of our character. And then the second type is the second person, or second person point of view. So this type of point of view is an emerging type. In this point of view, the narrator transfers from one character to another to give a glimpse of diversity in the story. So this point of view uses the pronoun you in telling the story. So basically, in the second person point of view, we have several views. We have several versions of the story. So the narratorship is being transferred from one character to another. So that is the second person point of view. And then next, we have the third person point of view. So basically, in this kind of point of view, the narrator does not partake, or he or she is not part of the story. His role or her role is just to tell the story. So we have the third person limited and third person omniscient under this kind of point of view. So first, we have the limited. So the narrator can only relate or tell the actions and behaviors of the characters, and he or she does not delve into their thoughts. So basically, he can only tell the appearances and the actions of our characters. Unlike the third person omniscient, so the story is told by the narrator using third person. The narrator's knowledge, control, and prerogatives are unlimited, or also known as the all-knowing narrator. In this point of view, the narrator can tell everything, even the thoughts and emotions of our character. So basically, this type of narrator has no limits. He can tell what the characters think and feel. So that is the difference of omniscient to limited. And then the last element of a story is the theme. The theme refers to the underlying message of the story, which points out the significant truth about life and human nature illustrated in the actions of the characters. All stories have themes, but not all stories have morals. Theme is not intended to teach or preach at all times. So, a theme may be love, faith, destiny, death. So those are the universal themes we have in different kinds of stories. So themes are present in all types of stories, unlike morals, which are present only on fables and parables. So again, theme is the message, not the lesson. Okay, so those are the difference between themes and morals. Okay, so those are the elements of a story. We have character, setting, plot, point of view, and the theme. So now we're going to move on to to the elements of poetry. So, elements of poetry is divided into three, and these are the following. So, the first one is structure and the poetry. So, it has something to do with the overall organization of lines and or the conventional patterns of sound. It includes the stanza and the form. The second one is the sound patterns. So three other elements of poetry are rhyme scheme, meter, and word sounds. So these are sometimes collectively called as sound play because they take advantage of the performative spoken nature of poetry. And then lastly, we have the meaning and poetry. So poetry is not always about hidden and indirect meanings. Sometimes it is implied and directly stated or evident in the poem itself. So those are the three major elements of poetry. Okay, so again, that is the first lesson. So those are the foundations of literature. The things that you need to learn or to know about before dealing with the different literary pieces as we go along with this subject. Okay? So, if you have questions regarding the first lesson, so do not hesitate to ask. So, just send your questions on our GCs and I'm very willing to answer your queries or questions. Okay, so again, just like what I am saying, take care, okay, stay safe, and have a great day ahead. Thank you.